this is not right, that you must be very attentive to. But little orders he would give and we would miss. And that is where the inattention would be pointed out. It's in the big orders, everybody would be careful. But in small things, one was likely to overlook them. So Baba wanted more attention on that also. So that our attention should be focused on him and we don't miss these small things also.
When Baba would come with these must-tour stops, who would he usually have with him?
Mostly it would be Eraj and I don't remember, but there would be Vishnu sometimes, then at times Pendu, different mandalis, but mostly Eraj would be there, Kakabaria would be there. Yeah. So there would be a rotation of people. But Eraj would be always there, because Eraj had to see to Baba's personal things and he would invariably be there.
This is maybe a little bit of a treading on somewhat delicate grounds here, but I've had the impression sometimes that when Baba would come back from a must tour, he would be concerned that Mera in particular not see him in his totally devastated condition as it were. Were you aware of that, or is there any truth in that?
No, but it was that he would come and clean up there. There is no question. So he would be unshaven and he would be in a very sorry mess, as it were. All dirty clothes, full of sweat and grime, and they hadn't eaten well or something. I remember once there was, Baba had sent word, he had been to Gujarat side and he was to come to Bindra house. So I had done the shopping and brought some fresh fish for Baba. Although it was difficult, it was the rainy season, I remember. So Baba's, on the way back, his train got stuck up in a place called Verawal, which is near Bombay, from the Gujarat side. The train was to come to Bombay, and from Bombay then he was to come by car to Pune, and then on to Merazab. So for 3 days his train was stuck up in this place, I think. Yeah. If I remember right, it was about 3 days. So what had happened was that due to unprecedented floods, the railway tracks were all washed out. So the train couldn't proceed further. So Baba was there in that compartment, and it was a nice little delay that had occurred for them. But for us here, we were nervous because that day he didn't come when it was the date for him to come. Then the next day we again prepared fresh food, kept everything ready. No sign of Baba. The third day, late in the night, they arrived. And that time also, they were all in a very sorry state physically and very exhausted. It was a very trying journey. And with all these delays and all that, it was a real difficult time. And what happened at Verawal was that they were there in this compartment, and Eraj then would tell us what happened. So the Baba says, now how to pass the time? So they began to play cards there in the little compartment. So they wanted some hot water for the tea in the morning. Baba sent Eraj, and the driver was a Parsi driver. So he went to the engine driver And he says, could I have some hot water? So he said, oh, sure. So he let off that bypass, from the boiler. There were steam engines at that time.
Some of the water from the steam engine.
So you could get boiling water. So Erich would bring this. So this driver then became interested. So he followed Erich. And he saw them enjoying game of cards and all this lively thing. So he just peers in and says, could I join you people, you folks, in playing cards? I love to play cards. So somehow Baba says, let him come in. So here this engine driver was playing cards and merrily passing time. There was Gustaji also there. Gustaji would be one of the people with Baba in the Mastus. Although Gustaji never did any must work, but he was the companion of Baba. Person who had to do no work but be just to give company to Baba. And he was silent, Gustaji was silent, Baba was silent, but that railway driver never noticed that, mind you. And they would play and shout and utter obscene words, the Parsis are quite famous for that. And Baba enjoyed it immensely. And that is how they passed the time. All those long hours of waiting. So
what kind of card games would they play in a situation like that?
Mainly Larisk or Isni Court, as the game was called in vernacular language. So it would be a very boisterous game.
Would they keep score, like on a sheet or anything?
No, just like that. There was no gambling or anything. It was.
But even just a game of Lariscus we play at the Pilgrim Center, we'll keep score to see who after 10 games is the winner.
No. It was just that round and we won or lost, and then the next game. No scores, no records. All forgotten. So that's how it would be in those days. This is all before Baba went into the new life.
Right. I remember one time where Erich had just told in this hall the account of the time in which Baba fell into the water and Erich...
That's right. That was in Vengula. In the backwaters of the sea in Vengula. And how Baba wanted to clean himself up before he could present himself to Mera.
Yes.
So,
right. And right after hearing Erich tell that, several of us went to Mera's side and told a short version of that story.
Oh, really?
This to me illustrates a very interesting dimension of Baba's love for Mera. Mera would not accept the story.
No.
She would not accept it. She said no. She remembered Baba came and his sadra was a little bit soiled at the bottom, that was all. And I don't know this, but it would seem that Baba sheltered her from hearing about it.
He underwent great pains to keep Mera totally ignorant of what he was passing through as much as possible. So it was his work, of course, because she had to be kept happy, and the women Manlis, one of their main tasks was to see that Mera was not displeased. And Baba had given orders to the women Manli that if they displeased Mera, they would displease him, because it disturbed his work. So Mera had to remain cheerful, Mera had to be happy, so that he could do his work undisturbed. If she was disturbed, it disturbed his work. So, he had to leave everything and bring her back to in the good mood and all that. So that disturbed him very much. So one of the main orders for the women Manli who had to be with her all the while, that they would have to see that she was kept in good humor, kept happy as far as possible. But despite that, there would be wranglings. no end to the wranglings. Yeah.
Now in the...
Well, one other incident I forgot to mention was one of these journeys, and he had come and Baba had had his bath and then Eraj had laid out the table for Baba, and Baba said, Eraj, go and have your bath. So Eraj says, no Baba, you first eat and finish everything, then I will have my bath. I won't take much time for my bath. No, Baba says, go and have your bath and relax. So Eraj says, no Baba, I know you'll do something and I'll be in more trouble. Baba says, I'll do nothing, I'll just eat my food. So Eraj says, then Baba, don't disturb anything in those bags and all those things. I tell you, otherwise I get into more trouble. Baba says, you go, I tell you I won't touch anything. Because Eraj had to be very meticulous about placing things in the travel bags, because many times there would be no light or they would be in darkness, and Eraj had to just feel his way into, say, a water bottle or a medicine bottle. So he knew exactly where it would be, and he would have to give it to Baba. So he wouldn't allow anybody to touch those things,
Even Baba.
Yeah. So he tells Baba, look Baba, I tell you I can go later. No. So mother says, go on Eraj, don't try to act too funny with Baba. Go there. Baba's telling you to go and have a bath, go and have a bath. So Eraj goes there. And then Baba's had his food, and then he says to Mama, get me that Hewlett's bottle from that bag. So Mama, and then he says, no, wait, I'll get it out. Otherwise, if Eraj knows you handled it, there'll be problems, So they tried to get that bottle out, and somehow it slipped from Baba's hand or something, and it fell on the floor and splintered. And there was it was a Hewlett's bottle. And Baba always would have a little teaspoonful of Hewlett's to aid his digestion. Baba says, oh, look what has happened now. What shouldn't have happened has happened. Your son will come and he'll start getting angry on me. And my mother says, Baba, what the heck? How dare he would say anything to you? No, you don't know, he'll get very angry with me. And Baba started to take a little swab and try to clean the floor. And Mama was so annoyed with Eraj. Baba, stop that, I'll do it. No, let's clean it up. He shouldn't come to know about this. Like a small child,
As though Eraj was his sister or something.
Yeah. He'll get very angry. See, that told us not to touch and we touched it, and see what has happened now. So mother says, but Baba, who the hell he is? To hell with him. How dare he would say anything to you? No, you don't know, he'll really get annoyed. So then mother helped in cleaning, and from the bathroom Eraj hears those splinters and he starts shouting, has anybody touched that bottle there? And he comes out quickly from the bathroom and he sees all this going on, and mother says, you go out of here, don't try and think you are too big and all that. So Eraj said, I told you Baba, I knew you would do this, that is why I was telling you I will go to the bath later on, and you didn't listen to me. Then Baba said, oh, I'm sorry. And he placated Eraj. So these things would be there.
What a funny reversal of roles there.
So this showed the human side of Baba, and which endeared him so much to our hearts. That here was the Lord of the universe, and this is how he would show that he was afraid of his own creation.
And somehow or another, the situation would be contrived where Eraj would be the one who's telling Baba what to do and scolding him.
That's right.
All out of love for Baba.
Of course. It's all because of love.
Right.
his humanness always entrapped us, So we would always get led away that way. Although, of course, we always had in the background that, but at the spur of the moment, we were apt to overlook that. So there was another incident like that much later when I was here at Meherwan, and Baba had called for a carom board from Bindra house. We had a game called carom board. It's a big square board, and you have pieces on that. And then there's a striker, and you have to strike with that striker those pieces, and there would be 4 pockets at the corners. And you had to put the piece in the pocket, and whoever cleared up their part of those pieces would win the game, and there would be points. So this would be the game. And so this carom board was brought, and it was placed here, and just where you are sitting, the board would be there, and 4 chairs would be around. Baba would be there, and I happened to partner Baba, and we were playing. So he said, I had become quite expert in playing it. So Baba would praise me, "You're really good. You must be my partner." So I was a little puffed up, And while the game was going on, Baba would while the game was in progress, I got so absorbed, and Baba would keep missing things, So I went round and said, "Baba, no, you shouldn't aim like this. You should aim just like this. You hold it." Baba says, "Go and sit there." I know. And suddenly I realized that I had overstepped and was telling Baba how to place at the game. So you get carried away so much.
His humanness would be so completely convincing.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's how it would be.
Well, just in the human sense, how good was Baba at these games? Would he sometimes be extremely good and other times not good?
Yeah. But on the whole, all the games he would be really very good. Even I remember, even after the accident, and he was totally immobile. There were, in the Guru Prasad, we had brought a table tennis table, and in the Mandli side of the hall, there was a room aside of the main hall, which was the Mandli, where the Mandli stayed, and was a sort of a small meeting room for Baba. Almost the size of this hall, which was the smaller room. Yeah. So you can get an idea of what a big place it was. And this table was placed there, and a stool would be placed. Baba would sit on the stool and play table tennis with Francis or someone. And despite not being able to move about, he would take many points. Yeah. Play very good.
Quick hands.
Oh yeah, and in the early days, he would be so fleet-footed, especially badminton and other ball games. He would be really good. Again, the game of cricket, he was very nice. As I told you in that game that he played, did I mention about that or not?
I don't remember.
No, not yet. That is still to come.
The game in the 50s.
Yeah. So Baba was very good at most of these games. Gilli Danda, then this marbles. Very good. Yeah.
One other, thinking still about the 40s, that Baba's really intensive work with the musts was between 38 and 46.
Yeah.
Did that impact on you very much? Like, did Baba start to not come to Bindra House as much after the must work tapered off? Or how did that how did that affect your awareness of Baba?
No, in fact, he would come very often, as I said.
But I mean, after the must work began to slow down, would he still come?
Oh yes, he kept coming on some pretext or the other. And Pune he liked very much. So, after all, it was his birthplace, and in the later years, he would tease Bhau, Bhau was from Nagpur, and Baba would come to Guru Prasad and he would say, see how good it is in Pune. And Bhau would say, Baba, nothing compared to Nagpur. And Baba would say, Nagpur is useless. See the temperatures there. People dying in the sunstrokes and heat and all extremes of temperature. I don't like that place. And Bhau would purposely say, no, Nagpur, there's no place like Nagpur. And Baba liked Pune, so on some occasion or the other he would want to be there for a change or something. So all throughout you will see that Baba would keep coming and staying in Pune. Later on in rented houses and all that. So, yeah.
During this time he would stay in that garage, is that right?
Not always. It was when he came with that big group that we had to do it. Otherwise, he would occupy Papa's bed. Papa would be out, and Papa's bedroom was Baba's bedroom. Yeah. And Papa would be quite proud of that. You see, Baba uses only my bed. You people claim to be big Baba lovers. Jai Baba.
Now it's afternoon of the same day. Where shall we go from here? We had we stopped with some recollections of that funny duel between Gandhi and...
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Such duels would go on with different people at different times.
Yeah.
And as we were just talking about Francis, why not we mention it here? That Francis was another example of a very, very rugged and tough person who spent about 10 years with Baba. And during that, in the course of those years, there was a great transformation in him. And whatever little superficiality he may have was all shown, as it were. And although he was such a tough character and extremely strong, mind you. Physically, yes. He had a huge wrist. Envy of sportsmen, I would say. And
although being very short.
Yeah, he was very short but very, very well built. He said he even had his operation performed on the palms so that his fingers could stretch out more to play piano. He couldn't play piano. His fingers were so short, so he had to get them extended. He told me that. Yeah. So, a great artist, no doubt. And always his mind was on poetry, and he would set into poetry the experiences that he had with his stay with the Lord. And they were really profound, his poems.
His ghazals in Dust I Sing.
Yeah. And as I said, there's always professional rivalry. So a very distinct aspect of it came out in Francis, because Baba was wont to allude to Hafiz every now and then. So
there's some tough competition.
Yeah, so every now and then Baba would call Aloba and then ask him to recite a particular ode. And it was really remarkable how Aloba could immediately, just a couple of words Baba would give him, and he would repeat the whole couplet which Baba wanted us to hear. And then Baba would give us the meaning for that. And Baba would then praise Hafiz, that never was such a poet born in the past. He was a perfect master and a poet. And the intricacies of the path are so subtly revealed in his poems, Baba would tell us. And he said that although there are so many instances of several perfect masters also writing poetry, but none could excel Hafiz in sheer beauty and excellence. And Baba would go into the expression on his face would be such as of utmost adoration for Hafiz's work. The shades of meaning that Hafiz would give, Baba would tell us. And the beauty of the language, it's unsurpassed. So this would happen quite often. One day,
with Francis there.
Yeah. So, I don't know what happened. We were all seated together, and Baba, all of a sudden he got the whim. So he said, he started asking each one, what would you want from me? Ask. So he asked Eraj. So Eraj says, Baba, give me the condition in which I won't have to ask for anything. Some such thing he said. Then he asked, his brother Adi Jr. had come, and there were little tiffs with the mandli. He had some regarding Baba. So he tells Baba, I wish the mandli were more responsive to your condition, Baba. They are very callous. I don't like it. Each one had to say something, The turn came to, he asked me, so I said, Baba, give me desirelessness. Baba said, it seems that a few days before that, Eraj had talked to me about this, that whenever Baba asks something, to ask for something, then this is what he would want us to ask him. He had told us that. He had told me that. So
you were ready.
I somehow was ready. I didn't know what I was asking, I didn't know head or tail of what it meant at the time. He seemed very well pleased about it. In any case, when it came to Francis, then Francis says, Baba, I wish you never mentioned Hafiz again to me in my presence. And Baba looked so sad. Be it so. And I think after that, Baba probably didn't do it. But then there was another instance when Francis had written some ghazals, and it's now entitled Let Us the People Sing, or
In Dust I Sing.
In Dust I Sing, yes. So this thing was getting ready. He would write a poem, and then Baba would say, have you written anything new? And then he would ask Francis to repeat what he had. So Baba would praise him no end. And so it went on, and Baba heard, I think, the whole lot of poems that he had composed. And then he would ask him to repeat these poems several times. So one day Baba tells us all in front of Francis, do you know why I ask Francis to repeat his poems to me? I'm learning these by heart now, and in my next Advent I'm going to quote Francis just as I do Hafiz now. Yeah. So that pleased Francis.
After hearing all this.
But Francis was a little peeved, so he just took it with a pinch of salt. For him, he thought that Baba was just pushing him up to the skies. But actually, we should never take Baba's words lightly. Yeah, whatever he says, it is so.
Accept it.
Yeah, accept it, yeah. So, these rivalries would always come out, and Baba would bring them out. Yeah.
You know, a character that I hear about, I'll start over. Vishnu is one who was with Baba from very early times.
Yes.
Yet there are so few stories about him, and I've always wondered why that was. Did you have impressions of Vishnu?
Yes. He was a gem of a person. He never interfered with people much. He was a nice, soft-spoken person and extremely large-hearted, very likable. And his main task in later years was to do marketing for Baba. So he would be the bazaar master. Yeah. For several years he used to do that. So, and of course he would accompany Baba. He was in the car when the accident took place, and he was the one who saw Baba's glory then. So, very quiet, very unobtrusive, and that's why probably people haven't heard much of him. But he and Dr. Nilu were great chums.
Oh.
And they were childhood friends, and the friendship continued. Yeah. I think Vishnu was responsible in bringing Nilu to Baba also, if I mistake not, in the early days, when Nilu was still studying medicine and all that.
So Vishnu had come to Baba close to the very beginning.
Oh yes.
Way back.
Way back. It was in Pune, in the Kasba Pet time. Yeah. So, in fact, he hadn't even joined Baba, and there is some mention about Vishnu wanting to go for a theatrical show and Baba slapping him soundly. Although he was not with Baba and not directly with him, but Baba was getting hold of him even from that time. Yeah.
What a way to get hold of him! Yeah. Baba knew his man, obviously.
Naturally. And Vishnu's mother was Kakubai. She was a gem of a person. Very stout old lady and very outspoken, but very, very innocent of heart and great friends with my mama and with our family. Yeah. But she died of a broken heart when Baba left for the new life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That just crushed her.
Yeah.
Vishnu
went, and we'll come to that in the new life. This was a very tragic thing that occurred. Yeah.
What about, before we leave this whole period, Chanji? Do you remember him personally?
Yeah, Chanji, I have slight recollections of him. He was a very genial person, very sharp-tempered, no doubt, but extremely likable, and I didn't have much contact with him, but I recollect being with him, seeing him, and sort of nervous responses that he would have before Baba. And very absent-minded.
Was he?
Yeah. Once he had put up his specs on his forehead and he was searching for the glasses. These are the typical absent-minded professor reflexes.
Even though he had them on, he couldn't find them.
So, but extremely busy person. because really posterity will ever be indebted to him for the tremendous lengths to which he went to record whatever he did. It's amazing what he did.
It is. I've seen those files, and they're monumental. They're enormous.
This Meher Prabhu would not have been in existence had it not been for Chandji and, of course, to a lesser extent, Ramju and others, but Chandji's was really Chandji, and to a little extent Kitty also, but mainly Chandji. He was Baba's secretary, and he had to attend to correspondence and attend to Baba's physical needs and all that before Airaj had come. So everything single-handedly he was attending, even correspondence with the West. And he had to do it on his own. Baba would be so busy and leave it to him to send the replies. It would be a great responsibility for him. And some of those letters are real gems. How he would encourage the Westerners, the newly come Westerners, how they should be with Baba, and the advice he would give them. Beautiful person, no question about it. And he was instrumental in bringing so many Parsi families to Baba, including Meherji and all the Dada Chandji family. One of the most close disciples had come through Chandji.
I remember shortly after he died, when this memorial tower's foundations were being laid, at that time Baba spoke very, very highly of Chandji. I remember Baba had called us to Meherabad, and it was just after Masaji had died, I think, in 1944 or something, 43 or 44, early 44. And Baba wanted to do this memorial service for all those who had passed away and for all those who will be passing away. So a big list was prepared. And then it was a place, a big pit had been dug, and I remember that Chandji's bedding roll was laid in that pit. And then there was a big tray full of flowers and rose petals. And then the names would be recited of people who had passed away. Baba, after each name was recited, he would throw a petal into the pit. And so on, it went on and on and on. There were several hundred names that were given. And in those names were people who were standing there also. The living?
Yeah, I think so. That so many other names were also. I'm not so sure about that, but I think some such thing happened. So then Baba said that later on a memorial will have to be built here, inscribing the names. So now there's a big controversy as to which names to be inscribed, and if the names were to be inscribed, how to do them. It would fill up acres of land eventually, and somebody or other would be left out. So it's being held in cold storage for the present. Nobody can make up the mind how to do it. So ultimately it will happen as Baba has willed it.
Well, these close ones of Baba are themselves worthy of remembering just for the love of examples they gave for the love of the Lord.
Life of absolute sacrifice. That was what it was all about. Total sacrifice. And that is what is real love, is that one has to offer one's own self in sacrifice. No laying flowers and forgetting about it. It's not just some formal ceremony or anything. It's to keep offering oneself repeatedly on the altar of the slaughterhouse, bit by bit by bit. It's a game of the really strong-hearted people. And he gives the strength. You can never have that strength. Yeah. Who could sacrifice one's own self?
That's impossible.
Yeah. But he gives that strength and that willingness and that readiness to offer oneself like that. Otherwise it's just not possible. It's His grace.
Marvel, particularly in the early years, that some of these men would stay with Baba when they didn't have any kind of a worldly confirmation of what they were doing. Quite to the contrary.
Yeah.
And Baba himself would sometimes say things like, "Why are you staying with me? I have nothing." Baba would even once in a while say that sort of thing. And yet they stayed.
That's true. He was actually bringing them to the state of utter desirelessness. That's what it is all about, to remove from us all our wants and desires, which is what keeps each one's illusion going full swing, So Baba's game is to gradually wear out all that. And to wear that out is to wear oneself out, because we are nothing but a bundle of desires. That's what we are. What we are constituted. That's the stuff of which we are made. So it's gradually shaving us out, until He remains and we are not there. Tough propositions. Yeah.
Somehow, Dr. Ghani keeps coming to mind to me as one of these characters who, in this funny way, would almost parade, I don't know what to call it, not disobedience to Baba, but his ungodly ways, as it were.
Yeah.
As sort of a...
He was Baba's boyhood friend, Langoti dost. Langoti means, the langot,
diapers.
His diapers. So friends from the time they were wearing diapers. That's the literal translation of it. So they were pals, and so he had that prerogative, of being Baba's friend and getting away with things.
It sounds like you could get away with murder when you did it right.
Yeah, so sometimes we read in Ramju's diaries how he would just sometimes flagrantly disobey Baba, and Baba would be annoyed with him, and yet he would get away with it somehow or the other. And his wit was such that he would make Baba forget his anger, as it were, and make him laugh in the most difficult time when Baba would be really angry with him. And he would put in such a witty little thing, Baba would forget all anger.
Couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
Now there's dancing to his tune in a very distinctive way. I mean, that's not an easy game to play.
Yes, that's true. So,
do you remember any of those things with Ghani?
Yeah. I had great friendship with Ghani.
Oh, really?
In fact, he would be my tutor to polish me up in the Urdu language. I had taken Urdu in college, so I would go to his house and take tuition from him. Yeah, he was very great in Urdu language. So he would help me out.
Quite a brilliant fellow.
He had a big head, jutting out forehead, and Baba would refer him as a big head. Very, very witty.
Also, he's legendary in his laziness.
Oh yes, that's true. No, it's not any exaggeration. He was like that. In the plate which he ate, he just cleaned it with the chapati and kept it there. That plate also he wouldn't wash.
Too much work to wash it.
And he would sleep with his boots on. Too much trouble to untie the lace. Such things he would do. Not bathe for weeks on end. But very, very likable person, despite all those drawbacks. Everybody in Baba's Mandli had their idiosyncrasies. Something or the other was there. Gustadji, for one, would always be in tattered clothes. Although he kept himself very clean and that, but he was very frugal in his ways. And
he could have bought new clothes.
He had trunks full of good clothes.
Oh, really? He never wore them?
Never wore them, except when he went to the West. Just for those few weeks, you saw Gustadji as a totally different person. You should have seen his photograph when Baba came here in the Manonash phase, and the 4 Mandliyars behind Baba. Baba is seated on the chair, the blue bus is behind. And Gustadji with patches all over his dress. And then a couple of months later, Baba going to the West and Gustadji's posing for his photographs for the passport and all, well dressed in a Western suit. He looked like some Hungarian professor or something, all ruddy and nice glistening cheeks. So all these people had their... Once actually I was here in Mehrazad and Baba brought Mehra and the other women round, and Gustadji had put up his trousers on the clothesline after washing them, just to show the number of patches on it.
Oh, Baba wanted Mehra.
An exhibit, It must have had a record number of patches on it. It was all just patch and nothing but. The original material was not visible.
He would do it himself?
Yeah, he would do it himself. Such was Gustadji.
What memorable characters. During these years, you must have stopped seeing Mehra, I should assume.
Yes, from I think 1944 or 45, then when from Pune we used to come and being called, then I asked for being kept with the men's side, because I was coming of in age. So I myself asked to be kept down there, and Baba agreed to it.
So that was the end.
It was a natural sort of thing, I would not be feeling much at home as the only male boy there, and I'm coming of age. So I opted out. It just came naturally.
Did you ever have any further contact with Mehra after that? I remember I asked Erich one time if he had ever spoken to Mehra, and I believe the only time he ever did it was when they all greeted Mehra in 1968, and the degree to which Mehra was kept apart from even Baba's closest friend is extraordinary.
That's true. It was a totally complete watertight sort of compartment. And so in the new life, that was going to be the biggest problem. But Baba somehow sorted it out. So after 44, I didn't have any direct contact with them. Of course, as a child, I would speak to her, be close by and all that, but I wouldn't touch her.
Even then?
Yeah, even then, except for Mehra. And then later on, Baba had given me an order also not to touch any woman or anything. So apart from that, Mera, I would keep a distance always. Even when I was a child in the ashram. And later on, of course, after Baba passed away, that it was the first time that I would go there on the women's side. But there would always be that reticence and hesitation to approach her, to speak to her. Yeah. But she, on the contrary, would speak to us. Yeah. And we would feel hesitation to face her or to speak with her. Yeah.
In some ways, it seems to have been more the prerogative of us aftercomers to go back there freely.
That's right. We've never been like that with her, with Mera. Never so. Mera, Mani, and Nehru, Khorshid, all these people were in seclusion at that time. Strictly segregated.
We have about 10 minutes left. It seems that's probably not enough to start going into new life.
That's
before that. What should we just?
It was one of these visits into the Himalayan side, and Baba had gone to Bhutan and all these places and the higher reaches of the Himalayas.
Up really into the mountains.
For in search of musk, of course, or probably whatever work he had there. And Baba at that time had wanted to bring a nice dog for Mera. So, with difficulty they were able to procure a puppy. And Baba named it Bhuti. Yeah. It was a tiny little female puppy. It was a ball of hair, long hair, that's all. Because these dogs were shepherd dogs, which the shepherds used in these higher slopes to watch out on the sheep, on the flock of sheep that they would tend to. And they were fierce watchdogs. Yes, they would grow to quite a height, and their fur was immense. Yes. So Eraj told us how they were able to procure one such pup, and he was carrying it in his armpit. It was smuggled in his arms, and he was following Baba on a very precipitous mountain path. There was a sheer fall on one side and a high mountain on the other. And somehow Eraj says he stumbled at one place and he almost fell. I think he fell, and the little puppy fell out from his grasp. And it rolled over into that slope, and Eraj said, it's gone, because there was a fall of several thousand feet, and it rolled out of sight. So then Baba also saw this. Baba says, don't worry. So they then tried to see if they could locate the puppy, but no trace of it. So then they continued the journey. A few minutes later, they see this puppy scrambling back in front of their path.
Really?
And Eraj was amazed to see this inborn sort of capability of handling such situations. So it was a real mountain dog, and it climbed up on its own, this little puppy. So Eraj grasped it again and then was very careful about it. And then they brought it here and it grew into a huge, big female dog. And when there were plenty of occasions when Meherazad there would be nobody at Meherazad. Only Kaka would be left in charge. And it was a fairly quiet place then. There were no habitations around as you see now. No huts, no dwellings nearby for miles around. So Kaka would be all alone. And Kaka said that he never felt afraid of anything because in the night this bhuti would be let loose, and woe begone to anybody who entered the premises. Yeah. So when I first came to Meherazad for a long stay, so Baba said, you must get friends with bhuti. So Baba told me, the best way is to take them out for a walk. So then Kaka, she would be only amenable to Kaka. Nobody else could approach her. Even the Manli avoided her. But of course Mehra and for Baba, she was all for Baba. So there was instant recognition. What these animals, how they recognize Baba, that's what shows us divinity in action, as it were. So I would take Bhuti, and he used to call her Guli. So somebody had nicknamed, I think Mehra or somebody had given her the name Guli. So Guli and she had given a litter, and Baba had kept one of them, and his name was Tipu. So I would take them for walks, and I used to hold them tight, So one day I had taken her out on the main road, and there was a woman passing by, and suddenly she grasped at her throat, I was able to hold on to the chain. If she had escaped my grasp, that woman would have been killed. And she would go for the throat. Yeah. Very fierce.
Really to kill her?
Yeah. So she was a terror of the neighborhood. Nobody dare approach. A great watchdog. Kaka would tell me that in the night she never sat at one place. She would bark here, then go around that corner, go all the while, as it were, circling the whole of Meherazad estate. Yeah. So no watchman could have done this duty. Yeah. Such was Guli, one of the Baba's pets,
When did she die?
She died soon after Baba's second accident, I think. That was the time Mastan was born. Baba was in the bed, lying injured, and Guli had given birth to about 3 or 4 puppies. And Baba selected Mastan because he resembled most Bhuti in appearance, almost a copy of his own mother.
Who was Bhuti mating with?
There was a good Alsatian dog, I think, that Adi had, and they did the mating, and a perfect offspring came out. Yeah. So Mastan was a beautiful dog, no question about it. He was the best of the lot. Yeah. The way he would give in to all the demands that were made of him. Yeah. Baba had great affection for that dog.